Back, everybody, to day 8 of the guided application program. We definitely have a much smaller class than we've had by far. I mean, it is the second to last class, so a little understandable. I hope you all had a great time with your families and you enjoyed the holidays. Um, we are going to continue off with what we have been learning um, in the program and continue with our mini projects. So Monday, we finished off or kind of finished off the lesson 7 mini project. And the last project that we were talking about was the writing a function where we were essentially formatting a bunch of phone numbers, right? Depending on whether they were US country coded or foreign numbers, we had to format them in a certain manner. And I left you guys a little, with a little cliffhanger because we couldn't figure out an issue in what was going on. Come to find out, the moment that I removed, I stopped class, I figured out what it was. And it was because the US customers and foreign customers dictionary was being instantiated within the for loop, right? So it was something very similar to this. So what was happening was when we were running this, um, it would essentially recreate an empty dictionary of US customers and foreign customers. So even though we were formatting these numbers and quote unquote adding them to a dictionary, the next phone number we got to, it would recreate this dictionary again in a blank manner, right? And then what we were getting was something very similar to this, where at the very end, we had only one dictionary, right? Well, right now I'm only printing out US customers, but the US customers one, it only had one phone number. Uh, and that one phone number was actually the very last one, the very last key value pair that we will loop through, which is Rebecca Kelly, right? Because for every other phone number that we were looping through after we were done formatting it, we didn't do anything with it because the next time we loop through, we would essentially clear the dictionary. And then we got to the very end, we added Rebecca Kelly, and because we didn't rerun that for loop again because it was that last iteration, Rebecca Kelly stayed. And it was getting us, giving us the result here where it was only one person in the dictionary. Uh, Rookie mistake, I must admit. And when I moved it out of here and we run it again and print out US customers, we saw that finally we were getting exactly what we were hoping for, where it was formatting them in the format that it wanted, where it was no code at all. It was just the area code locally, the number itself, and then for the foreign numbers, uh, same concept, right? Uh, Although I believe I left the foreign numbers area code there, but you can see here that these are the foreign customers. But essentially, we got the gist of what was going on and why it was doing what it was doing, right? So very simple fix, and that kind of just goes to show why it's important of ensuring that if you're going to create a variable that you're going to utilize to keep track of either a count or something that you're formatting or editing, it's important that you know where you are essentially calling these variables, because you would run into an issue where I ran into, where it was constantly being recreated and reassigned to an empty value. But enough of that. We're going to close the door on Mini Project 7, and we are going to focus today and all of today on the Powerball lottery, right? This is the only assignment we have here. And essentially what we are going to use is, everything that we have learned up to this point in Python, we're going to leverage that and kind of recreate the game itself of the Powerball. Now, personally, I'm not much of a lottery person myself, so I was reading up on this right before class because I don't buy lottery tickets. There's a higher chance of you getting struck by lightning twice before you win the Powerball. So I don't, waste my money on that. But we're going to talk about the Powerball. And we even have a little description here of how the Powerball works. And then after understanding how the Powerball works, we're going to use Python to replicate the process of buying your ticket and using your ticket and comparing it to the results and seeing if we win or not. Which chances are we're probably not going to win on any of these situations, but we can still kind of see how essentially the process works, right? In this case today and for the rest of the course, we're going to be building this lottery simulator. That's not completely true. We will probably take today. Tomorrow we have poker. So we will focus on today with the Powerball lottery, and then if we don't finish it, you guys are more than welcome to continue this. I am aiming to get through all of the Powerball lottery today, so you guys can see like the start and the end of this. But in the event that we don't, we'll get a majority of it done, and then you can see take that challenge, that stretch goal, to see if you're able to complete the task. Now, the Powerball lottery is a popular multi-state lottery game in the United States, right? It's known for its large jackpots and widespread participation. So players select 5 numbers from a set of 69 white balls and then 1 number, the Powerball, from a set of 26 red balls, right? Drawings are held twice a week, typically on Wednesday and Saturdays. Right now, just reading these first 2 lines, I can kind of already start making an educated guess of how I'm probably gonna have to tackle this problem. All right. I'm gonna have to essentially select 5 numbers. And this is for the players. Now, if we're making this into like an actual game, very similar to how we did the guessing game where we requested input from the user, I'm probably gonna want to do something very similar to that, where I select 5 numbers of my choosing between 1 and 69. And then my 70th ball will be the Powerball itself, right? And I'm assuming that'll be from the range of 1 to 26, right? So from reading this one line, right, I'm probably gonna have to receive 2 different forms of inputs, right? My 5 regular balls and my 1 Powerball to equate to my ticket itself. Maybe adding this into a set or a list will seem best fit. I think a set will be better, or a tuple, something very similar to that. That's probably not going to change. Or at least a set, a pair of 2 different variables. One being a list of my 5 numbers, and one being the Powerball itself. Right now, to win the jackpot, a participant must match all 5 white ball numbers and the Powerball. Right. The odds of winning the jackpot are astronomical at about 1 in 292.2 million, right? Once again, why I don't even buy the lottery. Reflecting the game's design to build large jackpots that attract more players. However, the game also offers smaller prizes for matching fewer numbers, which have significantly better odds of winning. So after receiving input from my user, I'm probably going to have to find a way to come up with a result for my Powerball, right? To figure out what the actual winning ticket should look like, and then maybe compare the ticket the user has, and then the winning ticket, and see if the user won or not, right? And then with the other edge cases here, where there are the possibilities of earning smaller prizes if we match, a couple of our numbers. Right. Tickets prices are generally 2 per play, and tickets can be purchased in most convenience stores and even online. So we got a lot to unpack here. And we're probably gonna have to build different functions to do different things, right? What's one function that you guys can think of right off the bat? What type of functions do you think that we might want to create here? Talk to me, guys.
Would you import random to generate random numbers, right? Is that a thought?
Yeah, we might have to import random to generate the winning ticket, right? I believe that you're able for your own ticket, you would choose depending on like I guess your lucky numbers, right? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Nicholas says five random number generators for the five white balls. And that's kind of where I'm getting at, right? So do we want to use the random generator for the input of the user, or should the input of the user be unique? Should they be given the option to choose between the range of 1 to 70? Um, you guys, what do y'all think? How does the Powerball work? Is it random? Do they choose their ticket? Is it both? Yeah, we might want to use both. One for generating the winning ticket, um, and then one for choosing your actual ticket itself. So, import random to generate the winning ticket, right? And then, uh, we want to be able to choose the ticket for the user. Maybe, create a function that prompts the user for their favorite numbers or their five favorite numbers from 1 through 69 and 1 through was it 26? 26, yeah, 1 through 26 for the red ball. Right. So one of those, and I kind of already I have a little website here that was pulling up um of how it works. I'm not too familiar with it myself. Um, and here we even have a cool table, which is pretty awesome, right? Uh, where it tells you the odds or what you can win depending on how many matches we get. If you were able to match every single ball, you get the Powerball jackpot. Five numbers is a million. That's pretty cool. Um, I see that here that you probably want to match at least four numbers because everything else isn't. It doesn't look like it's too much. Um, wow, only the $4 for the Powerball only. Um, so yeah, we see here that definitely you can win something no matter what. So we're probably gonna have to do some kind of if else check where we check how many matching numbers they have, and depending on whether they got the Powerball or not, they're gonna get one or the other. And if they do have the Powerball, how many other numbers did they match? Um, I don't see anything about the ticket itself. Uh, how to play. Okay, so sorry, you jackpot lottery talk on jackpot. You pick your own Powerball numbers or quick pick. Choose whether to add Powerball play to your ticket and play the order. Okay, so you can kind of pick, right? You can kind of pick your Powerball numbers. Or there's apps that can kind of generate something for you. But it looks like we can pick here. Right. The jackpot then sends a scan of your lottery ticket for you to view in the app. After the drawing, jackpot checks your ticket against the winning numbers and notifies you automatically if you win a prize at any level. So it looks like we're probably going to be recreating this kind of application in a much more simpler version, right? Now, going back to our code, right? We're gonna have to import random to generate the winning ticket. So this itself might be create a function to generate the winning ticket, or I guess the winning row, whatever it might come down to be, right? We have to create a function that prompts the user for the five favorite numbers, and then selecting their Powerball, right? Um, let's see, what else? What else can you guys think of? So we have a function for generating the winning ticket. We have a function for getting a ticket. What else do we need here if we wanted to replicate this process? Right? Thinking about the process of the chatbot itself. It's almost like going back to that problem I mentioned about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? We have the bread and we have the peanut butter and jelly. But does that make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich? What do we do afterwards? We got the two things. We got the winning ticket and the user's ticket. What's next?
Matching them.
Yeah, matching, right? So we probably have to create some kind of function that uh, matches them. So create a function where we compare our users input slash ticket against the Powerball, right? So we'll probably have to create some kind of function of that where we check like our winnings. So, all right, we're getting somewhere. So we have our user's ticket. We have the winning ticket. We have a function that's going to match them. And after we match them, what do we need to do? Right?
Return win or return lose.
Yeah, right. So that could be in it might be built into this. We might want to create a different function uh where we can calculate winnings, right? Calculate winnings. Because who says a function can't use another function, right? You can run functions within other functions. So what is this function here is matching the user's ticket and the Powerball ticket, and then within this function, if the user loses, right, let him know he lost, or if he wins, if he wins, calculate winnings, right? And calculate winnings can be a function itself, right? Create a function where we calculate how much our player won, right? So we can run this function and then we can do like an if or else statement here where if the user essentially lost, then we can return you lost, else, run the function calculate winnings, which will be its own functionality of checking how much you won, right? And then we can use this chart right here that we saw on my quick Google search of what it should kind of look like, right? The prize table, depending on how many matches you got, whether you got the jackpot, $1 million, 50,000, 100, so on and so forth, right? So we got kind of our pseudo code here, that the general template of what this should look like. So the first part of today's lecture, or not lecture, exercise, is I'm gonna go ahead and break you guys up into into some individual work, and I want you guys to give these two functions right here an honest try, right? I want you guys to create a function that should generate a winning ticket, right? And because we're generating a winning ticket, um, this shouldn't require any kind of user input, right? Does not require user input. This should run, this function should run, generate a ticket based off maybe the random method to calculate what the winning ticket is and return something like this where we say like the white balls and the Powerball, right? And white balls should be something like, a list, and a Powerball itself can just be like a number from 1 through 26, right? And 1 through 26, something like that, in a tuple or in a set if you wanted to, but something similar to this, right? Where we generate this ticket and return what it should be. Now, then we have the second function, which is create a function that prompts the user for their 5 favorite numbers. So here we do require some kind of user input, requires user input. right? So ask the user to select their 5 white balls within a specific range and to select their Powerball number from a specific range. Now, this is going off of the description and the problem and my quick little Google search. If you guys did participate in the Powerball, which I believe recently happened this week, let me know. Like, do I not understand the concept of this, how the Powerball works? I've never done it. So if it's not supposed to be user input and you just buy a ticket and it comes with numbers itself, like, do you have the ability to choose, hey, I want number so and so and so?
Yeah, you
Uh,
don't choose your numbers for it. It's just like whatever numbers they draw live or something like that.
so like when you go to the gas station and you buy a ticket, right? You don't give them any kind of like input, like, hey, I want number 5, 6, and 7, nothing like that.
Oh yeah, so you can go in there and I mean you can have them randomize it for you, or you can go in there and you can try to choose your numbers. But the numbers that I guess you compare it to are still randomized.
Yeah, right. So the randomized numbers that you're comparing it to, that would be our winning ticket, right? The actual lottery when they're running it to see
Yeah.
who won. And then the user input, and I guess I can leave that up to you guys, right? Because you guys are the creator of this. You can decide to ask the user, hey, do you want a randomly generated ticket, or do you want to give me your numbers? And depending what input that gives, you might prompt them for more input. Okay, well, you decide to select your own number, so give me your first white ball, and then they'll put in like the number 5, and then the code can be like, all right, give me your second white ball, and so on and so forth. Um, so however you guys want to do it, I'm gonna give you guys the option to give that a try, right? So time is 6:22. We're gonna take 20 minutes to give this a go. Let's go ahead and return at 6:44, and then I will do a talk through code along of my solution, right? So let's go ahead and come back in 20 minutes. All right, guys, welcome back. Um, or at least most of y'all able to complete those 2 functions within the allotted time.
I think so.
Okay, okay, that's good. You got one. Hopefully, you guys feel a little bit more confident after the last 2.5 weeks. Let's go ahead and kind of break it down. So disclaimer, I do have code that I wrote earlier, but I'm not looking at it right now. I will only utilize it if we get stuck, whatever, for the sake of time. I don't like to keep stuff like that away from y'all. But let's attempt to do this. We broke up a little bit the problem, and we had to generate the function that would create a winning ticket and a function that would prompt the user for their 5 favorite numbers from 1 through 69. So first and foremost, let's try out the winning ticket. So I'm going to create a function here, and I'm going to call it define generate winning ticket. And I don't think it should take anything because we should just be able to run it and be able to randomly generate something for us, right? We are going to want to receive the white balls, right? And we want to be able to receive, can I put path right now? No, it won't have this string. Okay. We want the white balls and we want a power ball, right? Then once we're done, we want to return both these. Return the white ball and return let's make this plural, white balls. And we want the power ball, right? Now, to generate these, we could hard code it, right? But that kind of takes the fun out of stuff. Luckily, we already know about a module that comes with Python, which is random. And that's going to allow us to create a random number from a given choice that we choose. And I'm going to say that I want to create, I believe it's math.random, or no, it's random dot rand int, I believe. Let me type in this. There you go. And I want to start at 1, because we see here 5 numbers from a set of 69 white balls. So I want to start at 1, and I want to get up to 69, right? And as well as 69. So as we've learned a lot of this time, when we do stuff like the start and stop, the stop is usually up to but not including. So I'm going to put 70 here, so it can generate me a number from 1 through 70. And I need to do this 5 times. Well, let's look at the random module real quick. W3 schools, because I believe there is a way of using it. Rand int, where I can generate multiple numbers. All right, let's check it out. Okay. We have the start and stop. This isn't exactly what I was looking for. What if we go for the random module right here? And we have some different types of methods that come with a random one. We used the random one, and see if I can find it. Returns a random float between 0 and 1. No, that's not what we're looking for. We use random, returns a random number between the given range. Returns a list with a random selection from the given sequence. This might be an option that we can use. To get multiple of them, right? Get a list. I think the one I've used before was, where's that sample? So returns a given sample of a sequence. Okay, here we go. Returns a list that contains any 2 of the items from a list, right? So it takes a list of stuff, and it returns 2 from this, and I believe if we send this, okay, it gives it back cherry and apple, right? So it was able to return 2 of those. And a sequence can be in any sequence, list, set, or range, right? So we can probably pass in the range very similar to how we did with the randoms, right? And then return 5, right? The K, if we set it to 5, can return to us 5 random numbers from a specific range. So I might want to use the sample one. And honestly, there's 2 ways of doing it, and I'll show you using the sample one. If we did random dot sample, and I add 1 and 70, and I believe this might have to be, we'll have the parentheses, and then add 5 here. Let's try it out. Let's see how this works. If we call the generate winning ticket, and we print out the return, we'll see what that gives us. Okay, select the kernel. And it's not working because create a function that prompts you. What am I doing wrong that does not like that print statement? Oh, my bad. No, it should be fine. Sample larger than population or is negative. When I try to make the winning ball. Okay. Oh, maybe if I use range. What if I use range? There we go. Okay. So we're able to use the range method to get a sequence from 1 through 70. right? The second key or the second argument that goes into sample is how many of those you want to return. And we saw that at work here when we used the list here of 3 different items and they added 2 to the argument K and it returned 2 different items from this list, right? I believe we would change to 1, it will return 1 item. It returned cherry. Yeah, so just like that, we were able to do something very similar. We saw that sequence could be any sequence, list, set, or range. So I used the range method to get a range from 1 through 70, right? This returned to me some kind of list from the from 1 up to 70, and the 5 was specifying that I want to get 5 of those random numbers, right? And it gave me 67, 10, 39, 55. I wonder if I run this again, it'll give me something different. Yeah, it does. We see here, it randomly generates from that range, right? Now, a different way we could have done this was if we just made this into a list, we could have say for I in range of 5, white balls dot append, and I would append using the random.randint method, and I would have gotten 1 through 70. And this would have done something very similar to what I just did using the sample method. And we see here it's still working exactly how expected, right? You return 5 numbers. I used the range method to loop through 5 times to be able to grab 5 random numbers and then add it to the white balls list, therefore reaching the same outcome. So either way that you decide to approach this will work just as fine. I'm gonna keep it like this. Do I need this? I don't think I do. No, I don't. Okay. And there we go. I have my 5 random numbers, and now I need a Powerball. So we can use the random module again. I'll use randint, and this is supposed to be from the range of 1 through, I believe, 26. Actually, I have it here. Yeah, a set of numbers from 1 through 26. So we mentioned for the stop, it's up to but not including. So this should probably be 27. And now we get the Powerball as well. All right, so this function was able to give me my 5 numbers that are supposed to be the winning numbers. And I got the Powerball. Now, something we might want to do is we can probably sort these. I don't know if these have to be sorted. You guys can tell me or not. Are they in a specific order or are they just randomly ordered?
They're random.
Okay, yeah, so we don't need this then. But now we have just random numbers in no specific order. And that takes care of the first function, right? Now we can move on to the rest. Let's go ahead and remove this print statement because we don't necessarily need it. We just used it to kind of visualize what our function was doing. Now let's come down here. I'm going to create a function that prompts the user for their 5 favorite numbers from 1 through 69 and 1 through 26 for the red ball, right? So we're going to find here a function, and we're going to call it get player ticket. And I don't believe it requires any arguments because we're going to want to prompt the user for input, right? And we're going to want to create a variable to hold this input. All right, so we can say player white balls is equal to an empty list. And as I'm getting input from the user, I would probably want to store them here. And then I want to make one for the Powerball. So I'll say player Powerball is equal to, and I'll leave it as an empty string for now. Or maybe we can do 0, right? It's going to be a number anyway. So it's not going to be in multiple Powerballs. We just need 1. So it doesn't have to be in the list. And then we can say while the length of the player white balls. And the reason I do this is because I'm going to want to keep receiving input from the user until I receive all 5 balls that I need for his ticket, right? So I can say, well, the length of player white balls is less than maybe 5 or less than equal to 5. We'll see how this works. We want to keep running this function and keep asking them for, hey, give me the next ball. Give me the next ball. All right, you chose the number 1, you got number 2. I need number 3, number 4, and number 5. And then once that's done, I can then ask them for the power ball. So I'll put pass for now to not get any errors. But this while loop will ask him for the white balls. And then I want to say, while the player power ball is equal to 0, then I want to ask him for input. Right? And I put pass right now so I don't get an error. So both these functions will essentially keep prompting the user for input until I get the necessary information that I need. So we'll say player number is equal to, let me say input, choose your first, choose your number, and then maybe do a string interpolation here. Because I want to say like choose your first ball or choose your second ball. But how can I make this dynamic? If I don't make it dynamic where I add some kind of variable in here, I would have to hard code here where I'll be like, choose your first ball, right? And then he would choose his first ball. And then I'll have to say, choose your second ball. But maybe this isn't the most efficient way of doing it. What if I can find a more efficient way of doing it where I can add a variable here that increases until it reaches the number, 6 and it stops. And I can say, I can make this a string, a interpolated string, and say choose ball number. And then here, I can add the variable that's going to increase in count so I can keep asking for the next ball. And I can say the length of player white balls plus 1. So the first time this runs, because the length of player white balls is 0, we're going to add 1 here. So it turns it to 1. And then say choose ball number 1. All right. And then he will add this in here. And then I'm going to say player white balls dot append, and I'm going to add that ball he chose, that player number. Right. And after it gets appended, I want to reset, or I guess the player number should reset anyways. Right? It would reset anyways by default. It's going to prompt him again to choose a number, but this time, because we now added a new white ball into the list, the length of this is going to be 1, because he might choose, like, let's say the number 20, and we append it in here. Now the length of player white balls is no longer 0, but it is 1. So when it runs this again, this variable here will be 2, right? So there's a length of 1 plus 1 is 2. So he's going to ask him again for the next ball, but this time it's going to be choose ball number 2, right? And to keep doing this until it reaches 5 and then stop. And just to see how this is working, let's go ahead and return player white balls to see what it looks like. Let's run this function. Get player ticket. And then I want to print the result. Let's see if I don't get an error. Right here. Choose ball number 2. Okay, did not do it. Oh, my bad. I did not remove my 20. Let's run this again. There we go. Choose ball number 1. I'm going to add 5. And we see here now it went to choose ball number 2. I'm going to add 10. Choose ball number 3. I'm going to add 15. Choose ball number 4. I'm going to add 20. Choose ball number 5. I'm going to add 25. And then it stops. And and I'm printing it out here, right? I return the white balls. I printed out the result that's coming back from this function, and I see here that I got 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. But notice they have quotation marks on here, single quotes. That's telling me they're in a string, so I might want to typecast this into integers. I don't know if it's gonna make an issue, but if I'm using numbers, I just want to make sure they're all the same type. So if I try to do something with them later, I'm not getting any kind of data type issues. But let's go do it again. And then we see 5, 10, 15, 23, and 34. Okay. All right. So we're getting somewhere. Is this function so far good, or do you think there's a much more efficient way of doing this? What are we forgetting to check here when we're asking the user for numbers? What can happen? And this is it's something that you as developers are going to need to kind of take into consideration when writing your code, because if you're in the military, you probably heard the term, Joe's gonna do what Joe's gonna do, right? They're gonna mess it up. They're gonna find some way to break your stuff. I see here, Nicholas, if the input is within the required range, that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? Who's to stop, or what is to stop my user to give me the number of 1 million? Nothing so far. My code is gonna do exactly what I tell it to do in the exact same way that I tell it to do. So I need to specify, or I need to be very specific, almost like I'm talking to my son, of what I need him to do. Right? So when choosing the ball, I probably want to add some kind of if-else statements. So I'm gonna say if player number is less than less than 1, print this number is too low. Choose a number between 1 and 69. Yeah, I think this is a good way of doing it. Choose a number between 1 and 69. Right? That way we can ask him for this input. Now, what if the player number is greater than 69? Print this number is too high. Choose a number between 1 and 69. Once again, let's format the string. and this should, keep my user from adding something weird. And now, if he does give me the numbers I'm looking for, then I want to append it to my player number, right? If he doesn't give me a number that I'm looking for, I should not be adding anything to my list, right? Because what's going to happen if I add the number anyways, what's the point of checking here? If I'm going to add it anyways, it's going to add it to my list and then give me wrong input. So I do not want to add anything to that list unless it is within the range of 1 and 69, right? So we definitely do want to ask the player, like, give me this. But what else? What else are we forgetting to check for here? We're checking if the number is less than or greater than 1 or 69, right? What else can happen? What other input can happen? Letters, right? They could give me letters. That's one. Symbols, right? So if it's not of an integer, then that's going to be a problem, right? And honestly, it'll probably give me an error because I'm trying to convert it to integer type here. But we'll see how that works. But that is a good thing that you brought up, Nicholas. Thank you. The letters, right? So we'll say elif player number does not equal the player number does not equal type int. I think this should work. Let's remove this so we don't get any issues here. Print your input is not a valid number, or you did not give me, or you did not input a number between 1 and 69, something like this, right? So we do want to check if whatever they're giving us is actually of integer type. What else? There's one more that I can think of.
A negative?
We're checking for negative, right? If the player number is less than 1.
Ah,
What if they give you a duplicate? Can we have duplicates in our lottery? There's another one. Lower in anger. Leave it empty, right? We can have duplicates, Nicholas. Is that a thing? Can someone confirm? Okay, so I guess we don't have to check.
no, you're correct. Sorry, I couldn't unmute.
All right, so Devin says,
Yeah, no duplicates.
okay, no duplicates, right? So we can also say elif player number in player white balls. So if whenever they give me a ball, if I gotta check that list. If it's in there already, I can't take this number. Print, you have already chosen this number. And then last but not least, I see Lauren. What if we leave it empty? Elif player number, and let's check the length of it. Is equal to 0. Print, you did not give me any input. So we definitely need to check all those options. So these are many things that can happen here. And there's probably a more efficient way of doing all these things, but I feel like deliberately, showing you guys all these things kind of gives you a better idea of what's happening here. So we'll keep it like this, down and dirty. And let's check how this is working, right? Let's run it again. So choose ball number 1. I'm gonna go press 0. Okay. I need to typecast these to integer because I removed it over here. And I think this should work now. Let's try it out. 0. It's still making me do it, and it's not printing anything now, unfortunately. Okay. This number is too low. Choose a number between 1 and 60. Okay. That's weird. I'm going to ball number. Okay. I guess it's delayed. So I'm choosing ball number 2. I'm gonna add 70. Ball number is too high. Choose number between 1 and 69. Good. We're still on ball number 2. So let's add 50. It's good. What if I add a words? And I get an error, valid little for in space, and it's giving me an error here. We're int player less than 1. Okay. We'll say if. So it's giving me error. I added a string, right? I added characters. And when it got to the first if check, it was trying to check if it was less than 1, right? But because it wasn't a number, it was a string. It was a words or letters. When it tried to do this check, it just flat out gave me an error, right? It said invalid literal for int with base 10. It just wasn't working. So what did we do to check if it's a word or not before all of this? What do we add it here? And then move this. Down here. Let's see if we get an error now. Okay, 10. Okay, words. I'm getting another error somewhere else. Invalid literal for int with base 10. All right. We are getting some issues here. How can we fix these? If type is equal to print this number is too low. Oh, we should probably move this as well. And move this up here. And put not equal. You did not input a number. Okay, let's try it out again. Okay, there we go. We are getting no errors. Perfect. All right. So now it's working. We weren't doing the check right. I apologize. I put double equals instead of the not equal sign. So we added words in there or letters, characters, strings, and it did not it didn't give me an error. It successfully checked. Let's go ahead and add 1 here. That did not work. And that's because the moment we add a number, it's going to check if it's not a number and pass this. So probably we might have to do like a nested else check, where if it is an integer, we'll do everything else. But if not, how do I stop my input? Interrupt. All right. We're gonna do an if else check. The moment we find that it is not a number, then we don't even want to do anything else because that seems to be giving us errors, right? But if it is a number, then we can move forward with the rest. So here's a different way of doing it. Let's check it out. I'm at random numbers or letters. That's good. Not receiving input. Let's add 1. I am adding 1, but it's not. It's not. It's still doing this. You did not input a number between 1 and 69. Well, we add. It should be 1. Yeah. I figured, Nicholas, it just, I don't want to add the line of code that I'm thinking of because I don't want to confuse you guys of using a try and except block, which you guys aren't familiar with. But I guess it wants to add the int here. But the moment we add int here and we give it strings, it's gonna throw the error, and that's the complicated part. I'm trying to keep this lesson relevant to what has been taught to you guys without confusing you. But notice, when I run this, right, the moment I add strings here, I get the error, right? I'll get the error because it's supposed to be an integer. The moment I add something in here, it's going to try to convert it into an integer, and it's going to give me an error. Well, there is a way of doing it, and it's called a try and except block. Right? It looks something like this, where you try to do something here, right? And if it fails, do the other, right? I haven't taught you guys this because this is a little out of scope, but we can give it a try. We can try to take any input and convert it into a string, right? And if so, we want to do everything else. If not, we want to print out that you did not input the number between 1 and 69. Right? Let's remove this. And let's untap this. Because as you saw earlier, right, the moment I add anything that's not an integer type into this input, it's going to immediately try to cast it into an integer. And that's going to fail. And because we have no way of handling it, it's going to break my code. Here, at least, if I'm correct, when it tries to do this, it's going to fail, but this except block is going to catch that error, and it won't stop my code. It'll continue moving forward. Let's give it a try. I might have to do some more refactoring here, but let's add some letters in here. Notice here that I did not get the error the moment I ran it with strings. It actually got out of the try block and it went into the except block, right? And it's giving me you did not input a number between 1 and 69. So that worked well, right? It did not break the code when it tried doing that. Now let's go ahead and move forward with the next one. If the integer is greater than 69, so let's add 70. The number's too high, choose a number between 1 and 69. That's good. Now let's add 0. And okay, there we go. I don't know why it's lagging behind, but 0, it gave me the respective response. The number is too low. What if we gave it something that already exists in there? Well, we haven't added anything there yet. We're still in ball number 1. So let's go ahead, 5. And 5 seems to not be working. When I try to add 5, it automatically gives me you did not input a number between 1 and 69. Why are you giving me that? That means it's failing somewhere here and it doesn't know how to handle it. We checked if it was too low. We checked if it was in the player white balls. If not, we appended it. What if we have something else? No, it's still giving me the input too low. Okay. Well, I figure out why this is happening. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. I'm sorry I went over time. I'm going to pause the recording. Welcome back. In your absence, I went ahead and finished off the code. What was happening here was I was getting an issue with how I was checking for a lack of input, right? So the way that the input method works is that you have to check it almost like a Boolean, like it's a truthy statement. You have to say if not player number or if player number, right? To see if there's input or not. You can't check it with like a length or an empty string. It's just checking if it's a valid variable or not. And that fixed all the issues. Besides that, everything else is still golden. We can go ahead and choose a number here. And when I choose 0, I get, it lags behind. I apologize. Jupyter Notebooks is weird. I get here, the number is too low. I can choose 5, and it goes to choose number ball number 2. I can choose 10, and it keeps going to number 3. I'll choose 10 again. And we see here that it does not move over to ball number 3. Let me choose 10 again, because like I said, it lags a little bit behind. And notice here that the second time I add 10, it shows me both times when I added the same number, you have already chosen this number. So let's add 15. It moves on to ball number 4. I'm at 25. Moves to ball number 5. And let's add 69. And there you have, there's our 5 white balls. So far so good. Jupyter Notebook is a little bit weird. You might have to kind of input the input again because it lagged behind. I apologize. But yeah, so that's for our whites, right? So we got so far exactly what we wanted. We got the white balls. Now, what about the Powerball? Well, something very similar to this, just like we did while the length of the player white balls was less than 5, we're going to want to do something very similar to the Powerball. And we can say something like, while the player Powerball is equal to 0, then I want to receive the player Powerball, right? Is equal to, and let's add this to a try and accept block again, because we saw how that worked when we tried to typecast our input into an integer. It was failing automatically if we didn't add it within a try and accept block. I'm gonna get input of the user within the int wrapper. And I'm gonna say, oh no, what happened? What did I do? Okay, my apologies. I'm gonna say enter your Powerball number, right? And once we get it, we should check if player Powerball is less than 1 or player Powerball is greater than, I want to say it's 26, then we can print invalid number. Please enter a number between 1 through 26, right? Else, I want to break out of this while loop, right? I can either break or I can set player Powerball is equal to, actually, I don't even have to do anything because we're going to change what player Powerball is by the input. Or we can just say something like, while true, do the following. And then once we get our input, we can just say break. Either one will work. How you set the while loop or what you want for your condition can be whatever you decide. As long as you have some means of breaking out of your while loop so it doesn't run forever, right? And if we can't enter a player Powerball, then we should say something like print the input you gave me is not a valid number, right? So both these while loops are going to do the legwork for us to get our numbers. And then finally, once both while loops are complete, we can return our player white balls and player Powerball and put these bad mamma jammas in a set. And now let's give this a whirl. Let's make a print statement here where we say, please give us your numbers. Let's run it. Here we go. The program tells me, please give us your numbers. Choose ball number 1. I'm gonna choose 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then notice that once that's done, that while loop finish and it goes into the next while loop where it says while true, and then we're trying to receive input from the user where we say enter your Powerball number. I'm gonna purposely say 28. And we see here invalid number, please enter a number between 1 and 26. I'm gonna say 25. And there you have it. We get back our Powerball numbers from the user and the white ball numbers, right? So both of these functions work so far as intended. Do I have any questions about anything that I covered while talking through the generate a winning ticket function or a get a player ticket function? I can, Jamar. Let me go ahead and copy this. Uh, 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 uh. There you have it. It's gonna be in the Slack channel. I will update it as we go and we add more to this. Do you have any questions besides the code or the code copy? You guys have any questions about what I use, the functions, how I achieved this result, or why I did anything that I did? All right. So next we have a couple more methods. Right, we have to create a function where we compare our user's inputs and our ticket against the Powerball lottery itself, right?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Don't we have to get like a user input? I don't know. Maybe mine was just way more complicated than it needed to be, but I did like a user input for if they wanted a randomized ticket or if they wanted to make their own ticket.
Yes, I did give you guys the option for that, right? Before we broke off, I say whatever you want, whatever your heart desires, Devin, is up to you. I'm not going to elaborate on how to get a random ticket because that's honestly going to be the exact same thing as something like this. You would just prompt the user for input of what they want. If they want a random ticket, you would do an if statement. Else, then you would do everything right here, right? So I think that's a pretty straightforward concept. Since we already did both, honestly, it's just kind of combining them in a sense, right? So either works. But you know, if you've been able, if you can understand this concept, I'm sure you guys can put it together and solve the additional option of receiving a randomized ticket. Right on. Okay, so the next function is going to be to create a function where we compare our user's input, right, from the get player ticket function against the ticket that we generate from generate a winning ticket, right? And what I want you to do is I want you to put a pause on the calculate the winnings one. Let's focus on this one first. This could be a little bit of an additional, you know, like a stretch goal if we have time. I want to make sure that we can get through the rest of the lecture or the rest of the exercise before we add more stuff. So right now, I want you guys to create a function that you're going to essentially run both these functions, the get a player ticket and generate a winning ticket, and compare both of their tickets to see if they won or not. Keep it very simple. Just say you won or you lost, right? Once we get that foundation going, we can kind of add some more functionality where we can calculate the winnings and then make like a main function to run everything together. Right, so right now, create a function that will run both of these methods, compare the results that they're being returned, and say if they won or they lost. You guys got until 7:59. Give that a go.
So before we went on break, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of try to get to the end for the day because my mic is being kind of annoying. But we'll tackle the last part of this assignment and then we'll leave it open and then to give you guys the ability to kind of give it your own ending to how you guys wish. But we went ahead and I left you guys off with the task of creating a function that's going to compare your user's ticket or your player's ticket against what the chosen Powerball ticket should look like, right? So let's create that function. And it should be something very similar to define check winning. And it's probably going to take two methods. We can, I mean, it could be two methods, or we can pass in the functions in here. But let's do two methods where we'll say player ticket, comma, and then we'll say winning ticket. And player ticket is going to be the result of what comes out of the get player ticket, and winning ticket will be the result of the generating the winning ticket itself, right? Depending on what we get, we need to kind of compare them together. So we will essentially want to grab the, let's add some pseudocode here. Grab the 5 white balls from player ticket and winning ticket and compare them. Right? Figure out how many matches we have with the white balls. And then afterwards, we probably want to grab the player's Powerball and winning ticket Powerball and compare them. Right? And if you recall, there is a combination Powerball, how it works, of what you can win, right? So we wanted to see how many of the regular numbers they got, and then depending if they won the Powerball or not, we'll add that to their winnings, and then we can compare if they match anything within the jackpot or the win column, right? And if so, we'll tell them, congratulations, you won so much, right? So we'll simplify, and we can honestly make it a little bit more complex and so on and so forth. But I'm showing you like the down and dirty version of it. We can add more functions to do more functionality. And I will leave it up for your own interpretation if you want to come back and make this a little bit more efficient. Maybe make it your own function for winning, like checking the winning ticket, make a different function for calculating the winnings, make a main function if you know what a main function is to kind of wrap all this together. But let's talk about this, right? So what type of data structure is player ticket returning? Well, the player ticket, right, is the result of get player ticket. And that's going to return a tuple where the item in index 0 will be a list, right? Player white balls. And then the item in index 1 is going to be just an integer. So let's kind of get these things and visualize the data before we start messing around with it. Let's go ahead and generate the player ticket, and let's generate the winning ticket. So we'll say players ticket is equal to get player ticket, and winning ticket is equal to generate winning ticket, right? And then we're going to use these two variables, right? Those are going to be the arguments we're going to pass in within our parameter section. And I want to print out I don't work too much with tuples too often. So let's see how we can visualize this data and mess with it. Winning tickets. And then let's run this function at the end. Let's run check winning. Right, and this is going to take the player's ticket and the winning. Let's give this bad boy a whirl. Please choose, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then 50. 1, 5. Okay. So notice here, I was able to print out the player's ticket and the winning ticket when it ran my check winning function, right? I want to grab just the white balls. Let's run this again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and let's do 20. All right, and I'm able to grab index 1 of those tuples, and it's just the white balls, right? And then now that I have the white balls, I want to compare them, right, against each other. And we can say something like, matches is equal to 0. And what would my code look like if I wanted to grab everything from player ticket, compare it against a different list, and have my matches variable keep up with how many matches I have? Can someone give me like some pseudocode verbally? Like, what would it look like? How can I reach the outcome? No guesses?
My thought would be to like enumerate each one and then to compare them, set them equal to each other. Like if player ticket is equal to winning ticket.
What are you gonna do?
Okay. Now what's your thought process when you think about enumerate? Why? And you're not wrong, right? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know y'all's thought process. So I know how you're approaching these problems. Why do you specifically choose enumerate?
Because I want to see what number is at what index and then compare it from there. Because in order for them to be a win, they have to be the same number in the same index.
Is it the same number in the same index, or just for the same number in the list, right? Let's think about this as if we are actually looking at the Powerball. Does it actually have to be in the same order? I do not know.
I think so. I'm actually not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that yeah, you have to have them in the same like order.
Okay, so if I had 10 here, but 10 was in the fifth spot here, then that wouldn't be a win. It does not need to be in the same place. Nicholas say, can I get a third person to break the tie? Anybody know? Because if that's the case, Devin, then you are absolutely right. We would want to use enumerate, so we're able to get the index, right? That'd be a great way of doing it. Anybody else besides Devin and Nicholas, can I get any feedback here? Does anybody know if it has to be in
I
the
did
same
ask Chat GPT and it said that it doesn't have to be in any specific order.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So Jamar breaking the tie does not need to be in the same order. Nicholas, we have played at work a few times and won a couple dollars with matching numbers, but wasn't in the same place. All right, right on. So we got our feedback. It does not need to be in the same order. So in that case, we do not necessarily need to enumerate. Devin, how would you update your thought process? How would you go about this? If you know that you do not need a specific index, then what approach would you take?
I would set if player ticket is equal to winning ticket. Um,
So
I wouldn't get each index. Then I'm not sure.
okay. Well, with that logic, let's do that. If we said if player ticket is equal to winning ticket, right? I'm going by what you're saying, right? In code, we take things very, very, very literal. What is this comparing here, Devin?
The value of each variable to each other.
Correct. And what is the value? What type of data structure is this?
A list.
Yeah, right. So we're checking. If you say if player ticket is equal to winning ticket, then what I'm hearing is you're saying if this list is equal to winning ticket, right? Therefore, you're trying to see if all the numbers are equal to each other, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Think your mic cut out on us.
Yeah. By saying if player ticket is equal to winning ticket, you're saying if this list is equal to this list. Is that your intent? Did I cut off? Hello? Okay, I'm assuming Devin probably having some technical difficulties. But with this logic, right, we would be comparing if two lists are equal to each other, and that's not exactly the functionality that we're looking for. We're just trying to see if any of these numbers are in the other list in general, right? We don't want to compare the whole list to just the other whole list. That might not be the best option to go about because chances are, right, and we saw the chances of winning the Powerball are like 1 in 290 million. Chances are that if you run this 290 million times, you might get these to equal once. But that's not what we're going for. We're trying to check if one number within the player ticket list is inside of winning ticket list or one or more. Right? And there we go. I see Johnny Alvarado. We're essentially looking for a membership check. That's the what I'm looking for, right? And and I don't ask this question, Devin, to pick on you, right? I want to make sure that we all understand, like, how to utilize these tools that we've been learning, like why it makes sense to not use enumerate over something else, or when to do a membership check into a list to see if something's equal to itself, if something's inside of it, if something's less than or greater, right? There are specific times when you will use a specific tool, right? You want to use a flathead if you want to if you have to unscrew a screw that requires a Phillips, right? So same concept. We will want to start a for loop and grab every individual item within this list and see if it's inside of winning ticket. So we might want to start this for loop and say for white ball in player ticket, if white ball in winning ticket, then we're going to say matches plus equals 1. And we're just checking white balls here. We don't have to worry too much about the Powerball yet. We're trying to see if we can get a count of how many times that we match a number or a white ball from our player's ticket to the winning ticket, right? And we're going to use this matches variable. And let's go ahead and say white ball matches, just to ensure that we know exactly what our variables are holding. Good naming conventions. And this will check both of these together. Now, once we have that, we have to see if the Powerball number that the player chose matches the Powerball number from the winning ticket, right? So we'll say if player ticket index 1, because what is index 1? Well, we saw that the result of player's ticket and the winning ticket, it returned to us a tuple. And to grab the list of white balls, we use index 0. Well, what's that index 1? Well, that's the Powerball. So we want to say if player ticket index 1 is equal to player, winning ticket index 1. And we can set a variable where we can say Powerball match. And we can set it to false by default. But in the event that the Powerball in the player's ticket is actually in the winning ticket, then we can say Powerball match is equal to true. And now we have our count of how many matches of numbers we have. and we have whether we've matched our Powerball or not, right? And then we can say, to simplify this, we can say if matches is greater, we'll say if white ball matches is greater than 0, or Powerball is equal to true, we can say print congratulations. Congratulations. English is hard. You've won. Else, print, try again next time. Right? And now, let's go ahead and remove these print statements right here and give this bad boy a whirl. We'll say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and the Powerball we'll use 12. And look at that. Congratulations, you won. One of my matches actually matched, and maybe it wasn't a good idea to delete this print statements. Let's actually see what it looks like and run it again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 12. It says try again next time. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 do not exist on my white balls, and I'm assuming that Powerball match is equal to false. So I didn't win it, you know? Now that I have this, the next step would be to add the, checking my prizes. If matches is greater than 0 or Powerball matches equals true, then instead of just printing out congratulations, you won, I might want to run a function that's like, check prizes, right? And this could be a whole different other function that I could create where it takes in a variable like white ball matches, and it can take in the boolean of power ball match, and it uses these arguments to figure out what my winnings are. And let's do that real quick with the time that we have left. This could be a function in itself, right? So let's give it a whirl. Let's go ahead and create this function up here, and we're going to call it define check prizes. And this could be, like I mentioned before, white ball matches and power ball match. And we can say, we could do some kind of if else check, right? And how will we go about this? We can say something like, if white ball matches is equal to, and let's kind of do this so we can kind of see back to back what it's looking like, right? We can probably check if the Powerball was selected or not. If it's true, then we'll do one thing. If it's false, we'll do another, right? So we can say if Powerball match is equal to true, then do one, else do the other, right? If it's true, then we want to ensure we take care of all the selections here that have Powerballs, right? If not, then we do the rest. All right, so if it's true, let's handle the first one. If matches is equal to 0, then we print out congratulations, you won $4, right? If it's equal to 1, let's go ahead and start copying and pasting this bad boy right here. We'll say congratulations, you have won $4. Or actually we could say is equal to 1, or white ball matches is equal to 1, something like that. So we don't have to repeat this code because technically both of these are gonna give you $4, right? Whether it's just a Powerball and 0 matches, or it's 1 match and a Powerball, both of these give you $4. And if white ball matches is equal to 2, then we print, congratulations, you won $7. If white ball matches is equal to 3, this will be $100. If it's equal to 4, this will be $50,000. And last but not least, congratulations, you won the jackpot. Right? That handles all the ones that have the Powerball. So this will only happen if Powerball matches equal to true. If it's not true, then we will essentially have to do everything else, but they win something slightly different, right? You don't get anything if you match one number and no Powerball, but if you match 3 numbers, if white ball matches is equal to 3, print, congratulations, you won 7. And I think the other one is 4 and 5. L if white ball matches is equal to 4. For 4, it's going to be $100. And the last one, there's no other option, so we'll say else. We are winning $8 million. And there you go. We have our check prizes. And instead of just saying, some generic congratulations down here, we can uncomment this bad boy out and pass in the variables. And now let's give it a try. Run it again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, our Powerball number. And nothing matched at all. All right, we had no matches, and the Powerball was false. Let's try it again. Hopefully we get lucky. Oh my. What? We won something. Oh, we don't get anything for 1 match. Okay. It's going to be harder than I thought. You see what I'm saying? The odds are not in your favor, man. Don't waste your money. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 12. 20 matches, but that's it. I'm sorry, it's taking longer than I expected. I didn't expect my luck to be this bad. But I think you guys get the idea. There we go. I finally won something. $4. Right? It took me 5 tries. But finally we were able to, we matched literally none of the white balls. But what must have happened was I found the Powerball, right? Powerball was true. And if we saw here, if we don't have ball matches, if it's either 0 or 1, but we have the Powerball, right? Powerball is equal to true, then I win $4. And there you have it. That's your Powerball lottery. Do I have any questions, guys, about the check winning function or the check prizes?
I had been playing around with making the winning numbers and the user number sets and then assigning a variable to their intersection. and then saying if the length of the intersection was like less than 1, print sorry you did not win. And then there's also another if the Powerball numbers match or not, like it prints that you have won. I don't know if that path would work.
Yes, absolutely, right? If you guys remember sets and their set methods, we have intersection, union, difference, right, and symmetric difference. This is a great time to use sets. I use tuples instead to simplify this even further. But I challenge the rest of y'all, go back to this code and refactor, right? Instead of returning tuples, try using sets and use the intersection or the union or the difference to see what is together and what appears in what, right? And you can use that to your advantage as well, checking the length of that variable to compare how many matches. That's a great way of doing it. Thank you for bringing that up, Lauren. I was debating on doing it, but I was like, I don't know, this is gonna add another layer of complexity. But and just like Yanamo told you guys, you can honestly do everything that you need in encoding with. I mean, what was it? Look at it. Look at our code. What did we use? Honestly, what tools? We use some built-in methods, right? The random module. We use functions. We use different data structures like lists, integers. We use while loops, right? If else checks. We use booleans. We use comparisons right here. Break statements. More if else statements, right? We did a for loop, right? We did a membership check. Very simple stuff. Everything that was taught to you guys throughout this course is being implemented here, with the exception of a couple things like we didn't utilize sets. You don't always need to use sets, but they are helpful. And just like Lauren mentioned, she was able to accomplish something very similar, and the methods are there. This was probably a good time to also use sets. So I challenge you guys, if you want to try that out, definitely change your data types and make them to sets, see how that works. But everything for the most part that we taught within here, if anything, everything that we use here was stuff that you guys learned in the program, right? I used try and accept block for the sake of getting rid of that error because it was bugging me. You didn't have to add this error check here with the try and accept block. I wanted to make sure I covered all my bases. So this is probably the only thing I didn't really teach here. But the concept is fairly simple. You're gonna try to do everything within the try section, and if at any point this fails, then you're gonna do the except block, right? It's one or the other. It's almost like an if or else statements, right? But besides that, we could accomplish the same thing without using the try except block. Everything in here was taught in the program, right? I was able to accomplish everything with very basic things: booleans, data structures, data types, if else checks, and for loops. That's all it was. Comparisons, for loops, and using different data structures, right? And look at all the code that we had. All basic code, everything that was taught to you guys in the program. Do we have any questions, guys, or any other comments besides the one that Lauren made about the code? Nicholas mentioned only cost you $10 to win 4. Yep, absolutely. That is another feature you can add there. You can figure out how much the user has tried to run this game and keep track of it, right? You can make a different function where you ask the user like how much money you got, and you're like, I got $50 to mess around with. And then you can keep letting him run the game until you win something and compare how much you spent and how much he's earned. So you can keep adding to this and making this a little bit more complex, however you see fit. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now.